The soft glow of fairy lights illuminated the exposed brick walls of my loft, a space I'd poured my heart and soul into restoring over the past 4 years. Every chipped brick, every painstakingly sanded floorboard held a piece of me. Tonight, the loft buzzed with the happy chaos of my birthday party. Friends and family mingled, their laughter echoing against the high ceilings, punctuated by the clinking of champagne flutes. A banner crafted from vintage wallpaper scraps hung above the fireplace, proclaiming, "Happy birthday, Emily." Even my brother, Jake, usually a man of few words and even fewer compliments, had let out a low whistle of appreciation when he first saw the finished space. It was more than just an apartment. It was the culmination of years of hard work, my sanctuary in the heart of the city. A sharp knock at the door sliced through the festive atmosphere. A uniformed attendant stood stiffly in the doorway, holding a sleek silver envelope. "Miss Harding?" he asked, his voice clipped and professional. "This requires your immediate attention." My fingers trembled as I untied the elegant bow. The paper felt heavy, expensive, carrying an unspoken weight. As I unfolded the document, the bold letterhead hit me like a punch to the gut. Notice to vacate, 21 days. They were giving me 21 days to leave my home. I looked up, my breath catching in my throat, to find every eye in the room fixed on me. My parents, Michael and Susan, exchanged a look I couldn't decipher, a look that sent a chill down my spine. Jake's face had gone pale, his champagne glass frozen halfway to his lips. The silence in the room thickened, heavy and suffocating. "What is this?" My voice came out as a strangled whisper, barely recognizable. The beautiful birthday cake on the counter, its candles still unlit, seemed to mock me with its cheerful presence. "Now, Emily, let's discuss this rationally." My cousin Olivia stepped forward, her designer heels clicking against the floor I'd spent weeks refinishing. Her voice was smooth as silk and just as cold. "The market is incredibly hot right now. It would be foolish not to capitalize on such an opportunity." Capitalize. The word tasted like ash in my mouth. "This is my home, Olivia. I've put 4 years of my life into this place." "The loft remains in Michael and Susan's names," Olivia continued, as if explaining a simple concept to a child. "The financial potential is simply too significant to ignore." Memories flashed through my mind, a cruel slideshow of moments I'd dismissed at the time. Olivia's knowing smiles at family gatherings, Jake's awkward silences, my parents' evasive answers whenever I brought up finalizing the property transfer. All those little pieces now formed a picture I couldn't unsee. "You knew?" I said, turning to my parents, my voice cracking. "You've known this was coming." Susan wrung her hands, unable to meet my eyes. Michael cleared his throat. "It's just business, sweetheart. Nothing personal." "Nothing personal?" The renovation receipts stacked in my office upstairs, the permits, the thousands of hours of work, the dreams I'd poured into every inch of this space. Nothing personal. My hands clenched into fists, crumpling the notice. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of them. I retreated to my study, my sanctuary within the sanctuary. Blueprints and renovation sketches covered the walls, a testament to everything I'd built, everything they were trying to take away. The city lights twinkled beyond the window, indifferent to my turmoil. What was I going to do? The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. But deep down, I already knew the answer. This wasn't just about an apartment anymore. This was about justice, about truth, about family bonds twisted into weapons, and I was done being their target. My gaze shifted to the detailed timeline pinned above my discovery permit, every renovation milestone meticulously documented. Olivia might think she'd orchestrated the perfect betrayal, but she had no idea how thoroughly I documented everything. Every email, every conversation, every suspicious glance. I ran my fingers along the edge of my grandmother's silver locket, drawing strength from its familiar weight. Olivia's calculated treachery ended here. I would expose every manipulation, every lie she'd whispered in my parents' ears. She thought I'd break quietly, disappear with dignity. She was about to learn how wrong she was. My hands shook as I spread the renovation documents across my desk. Each one was a piece of the life I'd built here. The soft glow of my desk lamp illuminated permit applications, contractor agreements, and material receipts, 4 years of dreams crystallized in paper and ink. Something caught my eye. The signature on the latest building permit didn't match the others. I grabbed my phone, pulling up a photo of the original document. The dates were wrong. The new permit was backdated 3 months, but I remembered filing it just 6 weeks ago. No, 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 I muttered, diving deeper into the stack. More inconsistencies emerged. Notary stamps with mismatched dates, permit applications with subtle alterations, contract drafts that shouldn't exist. Each discovery hit me like a physical blow, forming a pattern I couldn't ignore. The wall of evidence before me told a story of calculated deception. Olivia hadn't just been planning this eviction. She'd been orchestrating it for months, manipulating documents and falsifying permits. My cousin's perfectly manicured fingerprints were all over this betrayal. A soft knock interrupted my investigation. Jake stood in the doorway, his tall frame casting a long shadow. His face was drawn, guilty. I'd never seen my usually confident brother look so small. "Can we talk?" His voice cracked slightly. I gestured to the chair across from my desk, not trusting myself to speak. Jake sat, his eyes fixed on his hands. "I should have told you sooner," he began, the words tumbling out in a rush. "At Mom and Dad's anniversary party last month, I overheard something." My heart pounded as Jake described the scene. Olivia and Damien, CEO of Meridian Real Estate Group, tucked away in Dad's study, their voices carrying through the partially open door. Olivia's smooth confidence, Damien's calculated interest. "She was laying out the whole plan," Jake continued, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Talking about market values, profit margins, quick sales. She made it sound so clinical, like she wasn't destroying someone's home, like she wasn't destroying your home." The betrayal cut deeper with each word. "And you said nothing?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "I convinced myself it wasn't real," Jake whispered back. "That Olivia was just talking, dreaming big like she always does. But then I saw her meeting with Mom and Dad, planting doubts, playing on their fears about the market crashing. I turned back to my evidence wall, seeing it with new clarity. A pattern emerged in the email threads, each one meticulously crafted to exploit our family's weaknesses. To Dad, Olivia emphasized market volatility and lost opportunities. To Mom, she spoke of securing their retirement, playing on her lifelong financial insecurities. The timestamps painted a devastating picture, 3 months of systematic manipulation. "Look at this," I said, pulling up an email chain. "She's been feeding Damien information about our family finances for weeks. Guest lists from family events, renovation budgets, even Mom and Dad's retirement plans." My voice shook with anger. She's not just selling the loft, she's selling us out. The scale of Olivia's betrayal became horrifyingly clear as I organized the evidence. My cousin, always the perfect one, the successful one, had been orchestrating this scheme with the precision of a surgeon, and Damien's name appeared in email after email, his influence casting a long shadow over our family's future. His reputation in the real estate world made him dangerous. His connection to Olivia made him lethal. My phone buzzed. Chloe's name lit up the screen. She'd been helping me compile evidence since the party, her background in corporate law proving invaluable. "I found something," she said without preamble. "Those permit alterations? They're tied to a series of property deals Damien's company pushed through last year. Same pattern, same tactics. Send everything," I told her, already clearing space on my desk. A text from an unknown number cut me off. "Back off now or you'll regret it. Some things should stay buried." I showed Jake the text. His face paled. "Mirror, maybe number?" I cut him off, stealing my voice. "I'm done backing off. I'm done being manipulated." I reached for the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet, pulling out a folder I'd almost forgotten about. My hands were steady as I opened it, revealing one final piece of evidence. Something that could bring Olivia's whole scheme crashing down. Jake leaned forward. "What is that?" I looked up at my brother, a grim smile playing at my lips. "That depends on how badly Olivia wants to play this game." The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Regency Hotel cast dancing shadows across the polished marble as I navigated through clusters of silk dresses and tailored suits. Tonight's charity gala was supposed to be about supporting local historic preservation. Instead, my phone buzzed incessantly with notifications as Olivia's carefully crafted lies spread like wildfire across social media. I slipped away from the crowd, my heels clicking against the floor as I made my way to the private lounge. The leather chair creaked as I sank into it, pulling out my laptop. My hands trembled slightly as I logged into my email, but my resolve hardened as I dug deeper into Olivia's corporate account archives. "Got you," I whispered, opening a series of emails that made my blood run cold. The timestamps didn't match the metadata. The permit numbers were sequential when they should be random. Every falsified document was like another knife in my back, but it was also ammunition. A notification popped up, another live stream from Olivia. Her voice flowed smooth as honey through my earbuds. "Of course, we're deeply concerned about the structural integrity of the renovations. The safety of our community must come first." My fingers curled into fists. The renovation permits were spotless. I'd spent months ensuring every detail was perfect. But there it was on the screen. Doctored inspection reports casting shadows on my work, carefully leaked to maximize damage. The recording I discovered next nearly stopped my heart. Olivia's voice, crisp and clear. The property values in that neighborhood are about to skyrocket, Damien. Once we force a quick sale, the returns will be astronomical. A male voice, Damien, chuckled in response. Your cousin won't know what hit her. I sat back, my mind racing. The gala continued beyond the lounge doors, a symphony of clinking glasses and polite laughter. Olivia was out there right now, probably working the room with that practiced smile. Every handshake, every air kiss was another thread in her web of manipulation. The next evening, the Bellevue Manor dining room reeked of old money. Crystal stemware caught the light, white tablecloths gleamed immaculate, the perfect stage for what came next. I waited until the main course arrived, then stood, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. I have something to share, my voice carried across the table. Olivia's fork paused halfway to her lips. I have copies of every email you've sent regarding my property. My hands shook, but my voice stayed steady, including the ones where you discuss falsifying inspection reports with Damien. The silence was absolute. Olivia's practiced smile didn't waver, but her knuckles whitened around her fork. Emily, darling, you're making a scene. Perhaps we should discuss this privately, like you discussed my eviction privately. I pulled out my phone, clicking play. Olivia's voice filled the room. The property values in that neighborhood are about to skyrocket. That's enough. Olivia's voice cracked like a whip. You're clearly unstable. No, the word came from behind me. I turned to see Jake standing, his dinner napkin crumpled in his fist. She's not unstable. I heard you, Olivia. That day in your office with Damien, I heard everything. Chloe rose next, her eyes blazing. I have copies of the original permits, every inspection report. Would you like me to show everyone here the difference between the actual renovation documentation and your creative edits? Something shifted in the room, a current of whispers, the rustle of silk as people leaned forward. I felt it in my bones, the moment when truth began to outweigh lies. Seeing his mask slip for just a second, revealing the calculation beneath, Damien cleared his throat uncomfortably. I retreated to my study later that night, surrounded by the evidence of years of work. Blueprints lined the walls, each one a testament to dreams built brick by brick. The city sparkled beyond my window, my city, my home, my truth. I reached for my grandmother's locket. It was silver, warm against my palm. The weight of it grounded me as I began methodically organizing the evidence. Each document went into a color-coded folder, each digital file uploaded to secure cloud storage. My attorney Jonathan Reed's business card sat on my desk, his reputation for handling fraud cases exactly what I needed. My phone buzzed a message from Samantha Clark, the journalist who'd been following the local real estate market for years, another from Gregory Holt, the community board president. Allies gathering, drawn to the scent of corruption exposed. The last piece fell into place when Uncle Robert called, his voice heavy with guilt. Olivia's been working on this for months, Emily. We should have seen it sooner, should have said something. I hung up and stared at the final file on my desktop, the recording I hadn't shared yet, the one that captured Olivia and Damien in an unguarded moment, spelling out their entire scheme. My secret weapon, waiting for the perfect moment. Tomorrow was the town hall meeting. Tomorrow, everything changed. The question wasn't whether I was ready. The question was, were they? The town hall buzzed with tension. Every seat was filled, residents, investors, reporters clutching notepads, camera phones pointed toward the podium like accusing fingers. The utilitarian space was a far cry from Olivia's carefully curated galas, but power felt different here, raw and real. My laptop connected to the projector with a soft click. The screen behind me illuminated, blank and waiting. In my pocket, the flash drive felt heavy with truth. Thank you all for coming, my voice carried across the room, steady despite the pounding of my heart. I'm here to share some information about the proposed development deal for Highland Avenue. Olivia shifted in her seat in the third row, her designer suit stark against the metal folding chairs. Damien sat beside her, his usual smooth confidence showing hairline cracks. I pulled up the first document. These are the original renovation permits. My fingers moved to open the video file, the recording that would shatter their carefully constructed lies. The screen flickered, went black. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone coughed. I felt sweat trickle down my spine as I clicked frantically, trying to restore the connection. Technical difficulties? Olivia's voice dripped with fake sympathy. Perhaps we should move on to. I straightened my shoulders, meeting her gaze directly. We're going to see this through, every last second of it. The truth doesn't need perfect timing, it just needs to be heard. The screen flickered back to life. The rosewood banquet hall glittered with false promises. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across the champagne flutes and designer dresses of Silicon Valley's elite. My heels sank into the thick carpet as I made my way through the crowd, each step measured, deliberate. This engagement party, Olivia and Damien's crowning achievement, was about to become their undoing. I caught my reflection in a gilded mirror, structured black blazer, hair swept into an elegant updo, my grandmother's silver locket gleaming at my throat. My hands didn't shake as I pulled out my phone and sent the signal to Chloe. 3 quick taps. Showtime. The projector screen descended silently behind the stage where Olivia stood delivering her speech, her voice dripping with practiced charm. Damien and I are so blessed to have such wonderful family and friends. Her words faded as the first document appeared on screen. My original renovation permits, dated and notarized, followed by her forged versions. The differences were stark, damning. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Olivia's voice faltered as she spotted the projection. Her champagne glass trembled, catching the light like a crystallized warning. I think, I said, my voice carrying across the sudden hush, we should discuss the real estate deal you've been orchestrating. I stepped onto the stage, each click of my heels against the hardwood a punctuation mark. Specifically, how you forged documents to steal my home. Olivia's perfectly lined lips parted in shock. Emily, this is hardly the time. Actually, I countered, it's exactly the time. I pulled out my phone again, and the recording filled the banquet hall. Olivia's voice, clear and cold, discussing the fraudulent sale with Damien. Their words echoed off marble floors and crystal stems. Once we get rid of her, the property is ours. Investors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I spotted Mrs. Chen, one of our biggest backers, leaning forward with narrowed eyes. 2 real estate developers exchanged worried glances. The truth spread like wine across white carpet. Impossible to ignore, impossible to hide. This is absurd, Olivia sputtered, her composure cracking. Emily is clearly unstable. She's always been jealous of my success, my relationship with Damien. The documents speak for themselves, I cut in, gesturing to the screen where proof of her deception continued to scroll. Every forged permit, every manipulated contract, every secret meeting all meticulously documented. These are obviously fabricated, Olivia snapped, but her voice had lost its silk. She turned to the crowd, desperation bleeding through her perfect makeup. You all know me, I would never. I can verify these documents, Jake's voice rang out as he stood, tablet in hand. My brother's face was pale but determined. I have the original email threads right here. Chloe stepped forward next, her own evidence ready. I have the notary's sworn statement confirming these signatures were forged. The room erupted in whispers. Damien, I noticed, had gone very still, his knuckles white around his champagne flute. The grand romance of the evening soured as reality set in. Their perfect facade was crumbling, one exposed lie at a time. Olivia made one last attempt to salvage her reputation. This is nothing but a vindictive display from a failed designer who has proof of everything, I finished for her. I pulled out a final folder, slim, elegant, devastating, including evidence of something much bigger than a simple property grab. I tossed the folder onto the projection screen. Its contents spilled across the bright surface, documents linking Olivia and Damien to a wider web of real estate fraud, each connection more damning than the last. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the crystal chandeliers seemed to hold their breath. The question isn't just about one stolen home anymore, is it? I asked, my voice carrying to every corner of the suddenly airless room. It's about how deep this deception really goes, and who else might be involved. I locked eyes with the assembled investors, the influential family members, the real estate moguls who came to celebrate love, but found fraud instead. Their faces reflected varying degrees of shock, anger, and dawning realization. Some already had their phones out, no doubt calling their lawyers. In the end, it was Mrs. Chen who broke the silence. I believe, she said, rising from her seat with elegant dignity, we all need to reevaluate our business relationships. Her words fell like a judge's gavel in the stunned quiet. I stepped back from the microphone, my part done. The evidence spoke for itself, now spreading through the crowd like wildfire as chaos erupted around me. Damien argued with his lawyer in harsh whispers. Investors demanded explanations. Family members chose sides. I caught my reflection again in that gilded mirror. The woman staring back at me wasn't broken anymore. She was brilliant, fierce, unstoppable. But there was more to come. As I scanned the documents one final time, names jumped out at me. Corporations, shell companies, a web of connections far beyond Olivia and Damien. This wasn't just about my apartment. It was about an entire network of property fraud stretching across the city like a spider's web. Damien's face had lost all color as he stared at the screen, no doubt recognizing the implications. His perfect posture crumbled as he loosened his tie, his eyes darting between the exits. He knew as well as I did that this exposure threatened not just his engagement, but the entire carefully constructed empire he and his corporate partners had built. I stepped back to the microphone one last time. When faced with betrayal, I said, my voice clear and steady, do we stay silent to keep the peace, or do we expose the truth, no matter the cost? The question hung in the air like crystal chimes, a challenge to everyone present. In the tense silence that followed, I caught fragments of whispered conversations. How deep does this go? Who else is involved? What other properties? And I was just beginning. I gripped the edges of the podium at the Langston Convention Center, my knuckles white against the polished wood. The crowd before me rippled with tension, faces I'd known my whole life now twisted with uncertainty. Olivia stood at the back, her designer heels planted firmly on the marble floor, a megaphone raised like a weapon. My legal team from Harrison and Yale will be filing immediate action, she announced, her voice amplified and distorted. Anyone supporting Emily's fraudulent claims will face severe consequences. My tablet chimed with notifications, dozens of them. Doctored images flooded social media, receipts with altered dates, permits with fabricated signatures. My renovation project, my 4 years of work, painted as a web of deception. Olivia's PR team worked fast, flooding every platform with their carefully crafted lies. The evidence clearly shows systematic fraud, Olivia continued, her voice echoing through the megaphone. Years of financial mismanagement and permit violations. She gestured to the screen behind her where manipulated video clips played on loop. Moments from renovation updates twisted and edited to support her narrative. Independent media representatives huddled over laptops, their faces illuminated by screens as they fact-checked in real time. The first whispers of doubt rippled through the crowd. I caught fragments of conversation. The timestamps don't match. These signatures. But I worked faster. Speaking of fraud, I said into the microphone, my voice steady despite the thunder of my heart. Let's talk about evidence. I tapped my tablet, and the convention center's massive display screen flickered to life. The first email appeared, Olivia's message to Damien, timestamp clear as crystal. Once we force the sale, the profit margins will be astronomical. Emily's too naive to fight back. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Olivia's megaphone wavered. With methodical precision, I worked through my presentation. Each piece of evidence landed like a physical blow. Here's the original permit application, and here another swipe is Olivia's forged version. Note the identical signature, pixel for pixel. Forgery software leaves traces, cousin. The crowd shifted closer to the screen. A journalist in the front row typed furiously on her laptop. I caught Jake's eye in the audience. He nodded almost imperceptibly. Behind him, influential investors leaned forward, their expressions hardening as the truth unfolded. This is absurd, Olivia snapped, but her voice cracked. Those documents are clearly time-stamped and notarized. I pulled my grandmother's locket from beneath my blazer, clicking it open to reveal a tiny USB drive, including the audio recording from your meeting with Damien last week, the one where you outlined the entire scheme. The megaphone slipped from Olivia's fingers, clattering against the marble floor. The sound echoed through the suddenly still air. I reached into my pocket and withdrew a single business card, crisp white against my dark sleeve. The logo gleamed, Jonathan Reed Law Offices. With deliberate slowness, I held it up for the crowd to see, then let it fall. It landed face up on the podium, a declaration of war in elegant letterhead. The power in the room shifted like a physical current. Where Olivia once commanded attention, she now stood isolated. Damien stepped away from her, his phone already at his ear. Even from here, I caught fragments. Withdraw immediately. Reputation risk. Can't be associated. The formal lawsuit will be filed today, I announced. Anyone involved in this conspiracy has 24 hours to come forward voluntarily. After that, I let the silence hang heavy with promise. Long-standing family members who once wavered now stepped forward. Uncle Marcus, his voice carrying across the room, declared, "This manipulation ends now." Aunt Helen, typically reserved, added her public announcement. Each declaration landed like another nail in the coffin of Olivia's scheme. The convention center erupted in controlled chaos. Investors pulled out phones, family members clustered in urgent discussion. But I kept my eyes on Olivia as her carefully constructed world crumbled. Her face drained of color as her most powerful allies, family, friends, business partners, even her PR team began to distance themselves, creating a visible void around her. In the aftermath, I stood alone in the now hushed convention center, my hands moving mechanically, gathering evidence files and storing backup drives. Each document represented a piece of my life I'd had to fight to protect. The renovation receipts, the permit applications, 4 years of dreams defended through sheer force of will. The quiet felt heavy, meaningful. I settled into a corner chair, allowing myself a moment to absorb the magnitude of what had just happened. My reflection in the darkened windows showed someone changed, harder perhaps, but not broken. That's when I saw it, buried beneath the chaos of the past few weeks. A new email caught my eye. The sender, an anonymous corporate whistleblower. The subject line made my breath catch. Olivia's scheme just the tip of the iceberg. I stared at the words, my mind racing. The email suggested a pattern of corruption extending far beyond my apartment, beyond Olivia and Damien, a network of real estate fraud that could shake the entire market. The convention center's lights dimmed, signaling the end of the event. But for me, this felt less like an ending and more like a prelude. I closed my tablet, the whistleblower's email burning in my thoughts. Some people say revenge is best served cold, but I'd learned it's best served with irrefutable evidence and perfect timing. Morning light streamed through the expansive windows of my living room, casting long shadows across the restored hardwood floors. I paused in the center of the space, letting my fingers trail along the smooth grain of wood. I'd spent countless weekends sanding and staining, each board telling a story not just of renovation, but of reclamation. The soft glow caught the brass handles of my grandmother's antique sideboard, now proudly displayed against the exposed brick wall I painstakingly restored. My reflection fragmented across its polished surface, a woman transformed, standing taller, eyes bright with hard-won wisdom. I moved to adjust a framed photograph on the wall from that fateful night at the Langston Convention Center, Olivia's engagement party, the night everything changed. In the image, crystal chandeliers cast fractured light across shocked faces as I stood at the podium, evidence in hand. The memory still stung, but the pain had mellowed into something else, something stronger. Jake appeared in the doorway, his presence a quiet comfort rather than the source of tension it once was. "Coffee's ready," he said, holding out a steaming mug. The easy gesture spoke volumes about how far we'd come. He took in the photograph, his expression thoughtful. Sometimes I still can't believe how it all played out. Neither can I. I accepted the coffee, breathing in its rich aroma. The doorbell chimed, and I welcomed my guests, the ones who stood by me when everything fell apart. Chloe arrived first, her warm embrace as fierce as ever. Jordan followed, his shoulders still tight with the weight of his own workplace betrayal. Others filtered in friends, family members who chose truth over manipulation, allies who helped expose the corruption that had poisoned my family for so long. We gathered in the dining area, where laughter and genuine conversation had replaced the hollow pleasantries of the past. Soft jazz played from the vintage record player, another restoration project that proved more rewarding than expected. The music mingled with the clinking of glasses and honest conversation, creating a symphony of healing. I found Jordan by the window, his gaze distant. "How are you holding up?" I asked, recognizing the look of someone wrestling with betrayal's bitter taste. "Some days are harder than others," he admitted. "The legal team says we have a strong case, but—" He trailed off, fingers tapping nervously against his glass. "But you're worried about the personal cost," I finished. The sleepless nights, the constant second-guessing. I leaned against the windowsill, choosing my words carefully. When Olivia first orchestrated my eviction, I thought I'd never trust anyone again. But here's what I learned. Exposing the truth doesn't just protect you, it protects everyone they might have hurt next. Jordan's shoulders relaxed slightly. "How did you stay so focused? Keep fighting when it felt impossible?" "I documented everything," I explained. "Every conversation, every email, every suspicious glance. Build your case like you're constructing a house foundation first, then add each piece with purpose. And most importantly, I met his eyes. Remember, you're not alone." The gathering continued into the early evening, but eventually I found myself alone on the balcony. The sun broke over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of promise. Below, the city awakened, unaware that its skyline now represented something different to me, a reminder of what I almost lost, but a testament to what I'd gained. I pulled out my tablet, fingers flying across the screen as I refined my latest project, a community initiative to protect others from similar exploitation. The program would offer legal resources, documentation strategies, and, most importantly, a network of support for those facing institutional betrayal. The sunrise bathed my face in warmth as memories flashed through my mind. The day I received the eviction notice, the night I discovered Olivia's manipulation, the moment I finally exposed the truth to everyone at her engagement party. Each memory strengthened my resolve. This apartment, once a battlefield of family loyalty versus justice, now served as command central for something bigger than myself. I leaned against the railing, feeling the solid metal beneath my palms. The city stretched before me, full of stories waiting to be rewritten, wrongs waiting to be righted. My own story had shifted from victim to victor, but it wasn't the end. It was a beginning, a sunrise breaking through the longest night, illuminating the path forward for others who might follow. This was my new purpose, my true renovation project, and this time I was building something that could never be taken away.